Is that enough? Do you believe that President Biden's response to those proxy attacks meets where it should be right now?
Look, I think that we have to make really clear to Iran any more of these games and things are going to get a lot heavier for them. And I think the president needs to use that language. I think he has to let them know that these type of attacks, while maybe not directly connected to what's going on in Gaza, we know the game they're playing. And they're trying to incite regional war. So it's a very fine line to walk when you're president. But you can't allow any other country, even through surrogates, to indiscriminately attack American men and women in uniform. So they continue to do that kind of stuff and it causes death or injury,
right,
then you got to strike back harder.
But what more? So they've sent 2 carrier groups. Obviously, they have a rapid response force of Marines that have all moved into the region precisely to try and stop regional actors from acting. There have been airstrikes hitting Syrian Iranian proxies. What more would you do?
You have to do more of it. Look, I think the carriers is a deterrence for everybody, but it's not a response to attacks on American fighting men and women. So what you're going to need to do is, if this continues, you're going to have to increase the level of airstrikes and increase drone strikes, and do that to continue to let them know that if they do this, there's going to be a price to pay with their personnel. We don't want to do that, but we will have to do it if they go and they hurt American men and women who are fighting for our country.
Where, though? John Bolton, who served while you were in the Trump administration, has for a long time been saying to stop Iran, bomb Iran. I mean, he even wrote a piece as such. Are you talking about more strikes like the Syria strikes on Iran proxies? Or are you talking about in Iran? Because if you were president, it'd be your call.
Sure. No, I'm talking about Iran proxies. Look, if the attacks are from Iran proxies, then you attack those Iran proxies and debilitate them from being able to do that again. I don't think you escalate it, given what's happened so far. Now, if there were to be significant loss of life, then it becomes, and you can directly connect that to Iran, then it becomes a different story. But based on what we're doing right now, I think you still go back at the Iran proxies. But what you do is you increase the lethality of that. You make it more lethal for them in terms of destroying their capability to attack us and hurting or injuring their folks if that's what they're doing to ours.
House Republicans have proposed $14 billion for Israel, the number that President Biden asked for, but they're not including Ukraine funding, and they're proposing to pay for it by rescissions to the IRS, which actually end up costing more money to some degree. Do you agree with their approach right now?
What I think is that it's a typical negotiating tactic when you have a divided Congress, right? So they know that the Democrats in the Senate are not going to agree to exactly that proposal.
Do they?
Yeah, they do. They do.
All of them?
Well, it doesn't matter if all of them, a majority of them know. And I think the Speaker certainly knows that that's not going to happen. So you set out a marker in a negotiation. This is what we would like on our best day. The Democrats in the Senate are going to do that, and then you've got to negotiate what's going to happen in between. And I think the president needs to get involved in that because of the importance of the Israel aid package. Now, in Ukraine, I would support it being done together, but I'm encouraged by the fact that the new speaker has said he supports aid to Ukraine. And so I assume that what he wants to do to try to keep peace inside his own caucus that he just barely got elected to lead is to have separate votes on that. And I think what you'll see is a majority of Republicans voting yes within the caucus and an overwhelming majority of Democrats voting yes on that. And I believe it'll ultimately pass.
Before you go, if you were president and you were on the phone with Bibi Netanyahu, would you tell him we need humanitarian pauses? John Kirby at the White House told us yesterday we may need multiple humanitarian pauses. Do you think, I know you don't want a ceasefire, but does there need to be a pause to get some of these folks out, get Americans out, help the children?
Look, I would think if we could get Americans out, that would be a goal for us to reach, but I don't think that would happen. I think what Hamas would want is not a pause. They would want to guarantee that Israel would not invade Gaza at all. And we can't give them that guarantee because of the attack they perpetrated on October 7th. They killed 1,400 civilians. It's not right. It's not fair. And Israel needs to degrade their capability to do it again. So, and secondly, I wouldn't be telling the Prime Minister of Israel how to respond to the worst attack and murder of Jews since the Holocaust. I would say to him 3 things. 1, you have the absolute obligation to protect the territorial integrity and safety and security of your citizens. 2, You have to degrade Hamas's ability to never do this to you again. But 3, keep your eye on the ball. At the end of this, what we want is the ability to isolate Iran by making more agreements with other Arab countries. So keep that goal in mind without me micromanaging how he's going to do a pause, no pause, to keep those principles in mind. And those would be my conversations with Netanyahu.
Notable on your last point that the Saudi defense minister was at the White House this week having those discussions. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you guys for having me. It's good to be in the
Come
studio.
back.
Thanks. Well, there are new details surrounding the shocking red flags, the main shooter, what police and the military knew before the attack.
Also, what we were just talking about, House Republicans are revealing those details of the $14.3 billion aid package for Israel, why their plan still does face that uphill battle in their own conference.
Before we go to break, we do want to show you right now smoke plumes from Gaza as the airstrikes, the ground incursion continues, and the conflict shows no signs of ending anytime soon. Stay with us.
The new CNN Prime Time is where the truth shines, taking you to the heart of the story.
We start with breaking news for you this evening.
We are just about 3 miles from the Gaza border.
And breaking through the noise.
Interesting conversation about where we are in America right now.
The day's biggest stories.
What we have been seeing in Israel is unprecedented.
The night's most essential reporting.
It's not about what I believe, it's about whether there is evidence.
This is the new CNN Prime Time. Weeknights starting at 7 on CNN.
This is American infrastructure, a prime target for cyber attacks. But the same AI-powered security that protects all of Google also defends these services for everyone who lives here.
Attention Medicare beneficiaries. This is an important message for everyone on Medicare. Attention everyone on Medicare. Today we are talking about 2024 Medicare Advantage plans. If you don't have a 2024 Medicare Advantage Part C plan, call now because there may be a Medicare Part C plan with additional benefits available in your zip code. Right now is the Medicare annual enrollment period. You can call now to see if there are any changes to your current Medicare plan in the upcoming year or find out if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan with additional benefits. Everyone on Medicare is encouraged to call. Call now and a licensed insurance agent can look up your plan and see if there are any changes to your current plan in the upcoming year. Call now during the Medicare annual enrollment period. Part C plans can change every year. Don't wait. Call before the Medicare annual enrollment period ends on December 7th for your free, no obligation 2024 Medicare benefits review. Call 800-882-0987. 800-882-0987. Attention Medicare beneficiaries. This is an important message for everyone on Medicare. Attention everyone on Medicare. Today we are talking about 2024 Medicare Advantage plans. If you don't have a 2024 Medicare Advantage Part C plan, call now because there may be a Medicare Part C plan with additional benefits available in your zip code. Right now is the Medicare annual enrollment period. You can call now to see if there are any changes to your current Medicare plan in the upcoming year or find out if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan with additional benefits. Everyone on Medicare is encouraged to call. Call now and a licensed insurance agent can look up your plan and see if there are any changes to your current plan in the upcoming year. Call now during the Medicare annual enrollment period. Part C plans can change every year. Don't wait. Call before the Medicare annual enrollment period ends on December 7th for your free, no obligation 2024 Medicare benefits review. Call 800-882-0987. 800-882-0987.
I belong here.
You may think I don't fit in.
That I don't look the part.
But to me, curling is more than a sport.
It's my community.
Together, we can sweep away the barriers.
Create spaces where we all belong.
And experience the joy of curling.
I belong here.
We belong here. We unite. And united we curl.
At Grainger, we know dealing with the unexpected is part of your job description, and we're here to help with professional-grade supplies, plus same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
When Lila was ready to sell her ring, she sent it to Worthy, where they took care of everything and auctioned it on her terms. Then, Worthy sent Lila her money. You're worthy of more. Get started at Worthy.com.
The Whole Story with Anderson Cooper, Sunday at 8 on CNN.
We are continuing to monitor what's happening over Gaza City. You see smoke rising there as airstrikes, artillery strikes, and a ground incursion continues. We will keep you posted as we learn the latest from what's happening.
Also, to the mass shooting in Maine, very disturbing new details about so many glaring warning signs before it that left 18 people dead, and they just weren't followed up on. According to newly released documents from the sheriff's office, the shooter's ex-wife and son went to the police in May to report their concerns about his paranoia. Police visited the gunman's residence twice in September after his Army unit reported that Card was, quote, having psychotic episodes where he is hearing voices that are insulting him, calling him a pedophile. Card is also making threats to shoot up the Sago National Guard facility. Our Shimon Parker-Pez has been doing all of this reporting on the ground in Maine and joins us live this morning. What are the facts, Shimon?
The facts are is that, as you said, the warning signs were there. They were there in May. They were there in July. They were there in September. And instead of someone saying, hold up, wait a second, we have to do something about this. We have to get this man help. We have to get his guns away from him. We have to potentially take him off the street. Everyone just sort of acted like social workers here. Certainly the law enforcement officials, the military, all saying they were going to try and get him help. They were using the family to try and get him help. But clearly, based on these documents, none of that was working. And here we are today with 18 people dead in something that certainly people across this country, from law enforcement officials, people in this state to the families, believe this could have been prevented had someone just taken the action. When we look through these documents, you see that back in July, when the shooter was in training in New York, he had an episode. There was a mental breakdown. A fellow soldier complained that he was sort of talking about potentially doing some kind of a mass shooting, talking about violence, talking about hurting people, and they were concerned. And they went to military officials, so much so that we found out yesterday that the Army, in a statement, said that they basically instituted a policy. They said that he could no longer handle weapons or ammunition, but yet somehow he continued to be able to possess his personal weapons. And then we see, as we know now in September, the family, the military, all went to the police saying that they needed to get him help. And well, he just remained on the street, and here we are today.
Shimon, these documents, I think, kind of bring into sharp focus the back and forth you had with the governor on some of these missed warning signs last night. What did she tell you at the time?
Well, look, my questioning of the governor comes after we repeatedly, in the days after this, went to her officials, the head of the Department of Public Safety here, the commissioner of the Department of Public Safety. We knew this information, and we asked him many times, what were the contacts between law enforcement? He didn't want to answer them, and he was evasive about it for days, and they have refused to answer these questions. So yesterday, when the governor decided to have a press conference, we went ahead and tried to ask her and get her reaction to our reporting that there was this law enforcement contact. And well, she also didn't want to answer. Take a listen to what she said. We know that there is an alarming concern from the law enforcement community that activity and information here was ignored. And the simple answer is, why was that done, and are you concerned about that?
I think those kinds of facts are yet to be determined. You're making assumptions. I'm not one to make those assumptions.
And there you go. You know, the thing for her to say is that we're making assumptions. We're not making assumptions. We have the documents. We have the proof. You know, we're also talking to sources and officials here on the ground, senior law enforcement officials who are all raising concerns over how the sheriff's office handled this.
Shimon, keep digging. Great work. Thank you.
In just 1 hour, Secretary of State Antony Blinken and U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin will sit for a key Senate hearing on defense funding for both Israel and Ukraine.
And that hearing will happen as we continue to see smoke rising over Gaza and military operations still very much underway. Stay with us.
We are seeing something that we have not seen yet ever in American history. A speaker pushed out. It's the biggest FU to Republican voters I've ever seen.
Things are very heated right now, very emotional.
Will this ever be over?
Minutes from now, there could be a new House Speaker.
Mike Johnson, the new Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, just elected. Republicans say they are finally ready to move ahead and put aside the ugly chapter.
Some people go to the ends of the earth to find adventure. You just have to travel to the end of the road. Because here in Key West, we're the launching point for a world of breathtaking action and excitement. From deep sea quests and shallow water pursuits, to living history lessons and journeys on the bounding main. Key West, close to perfect, far from normal.
I was stuck. Unresolved depression symptoms were in my way. I needed more from my antidepressant. Vraylar helped give it a lift.
Adding Vraylar to an antidepressant is clinically proven to help relieve overall depression symptoms better than an antidepressant alone. And in Vraylar clinical studies, most saw no substantial impact on weight. Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke, report unusual changes in behavior or suicidal thoughts. Antidepressants can increase these in children and young adults, report fever, stiff muscles, or confusion, as these may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High blood sugar, which can lead to coma or death, weight gain, and high cholesterol may occur. Movement dysfunction and restlessness are common side effects. Stomach and sleep issues, dizziness, increased appetite, and fatigue are also common. Side effects may not appear for several weeks.
I didn't have to change my treatment. I just gave it a lift.
Ask about Vraylar and learn how AbbVie can help you save.
Hope you all like potatoes. These are fresh from my garden.
What? Is your garden in Idaho?
No, it's in my backyard.
Don't let this happen to you. Always look for the Grown in Idaho seal.
What does it mean to be out front? It's going there. We are just about 3 miles from the Gaza border. It's context and curiosity, so you can be out front too. Let's go out front.
Aaron Burnett out front tonight at 7 on CNN.
What does human talent look like?
Just go on Fiverr. See for yourself. Human talent.
I'm prepping dinner, and instead of putting all my vegetable scraps into the garbage, which can really stink up my kitchen, I put all of them into Lomi. At the end of every day, my family creates about this much food waste, and in as little as 4 hours, Lomi turns all of this into this nutrient-rich earth that I put in my garden. Get yours at lomi.com.
I'm Natasha Chen in Los Angeles, and this is CNN. These are live pictures to the left on your screen where smoke is rising over Gaza. On the right, a picture of Capitol Hill this morning, where in just under an hour, Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin will both make their case to Senate lawmakers for the Biden administration's $105 billion emergency aid request for Israel and Ukraine.
And that funding has relatively wide bipartisan support, but a growing number of Republicans have become resistant to the idea of additional money for Kyiv, putting its overall approval in jeopardy. CNN's Manu Raju is live for us on Capitol Hill. Manu, is this hearing going to change any minds?
It is unclear. There is significant divergence between the House Republicans and Senate Republicans about how to proceed on this matter, particularly among the leadership. The Senate Republican leader, Mitch McConnell, who is pushing hard to include Ukraine aid along with Israel aid, as the White House pushes for $105 billion in emergency funding, along with dealing with the South Pacific, dealing with issues along the southern border with Mexico. They want all of that. But the House Republicans are going on a different approach. The new Speaker, Mike Johnson, announced plans to move on a standalone plan just for Israel, $14.3 billion to punt on the issue of Ukraine. And also as part of that $14.3 billion package, including spending cuts to the IRS enforcement, something that Democrats say they will absolutely not accept. So there are major questions now on Capitol Hill about whether Israel funding can get approved, whether Ukraine funding can get approved. And in talking to Democrats and Senate Republicans yesterday, it was clear there was significant difference of opinion about how to proceed and uncertainty about what will ultimately be accomplished.
I mean, do you see any way that a bill like that could get out of the Senate?
I would think that would be very hard in the Senate. So I think what we're going to do is, I think the burden on our shoulders is to pass a very bipartisan bill that has Ukraine, Israel, Gaza, disaster relief, border in it, and then send that over to the House.
I think that's a mistake. I think we have a debate about Ukraine. My views on that are well known, but let's not slow down the Israel aid package there.
How do you feel about Senator McConnell's push to include Ukraine as part of the Israel supplemental?
Well, I mean, it's something he's passionate about.
Do you support it?
As are a lot of our members. Well, I think we need to continue to support Ukraine's effort to stop Russia. Russia is an adversary. They represent a national security threat to the United States. So I support that. How that gets done is another question.
And that is the big point there from the number 2 Senate Republican. How that gets done is another question. It's a big question. Later this week, the House will try to pass that standalone Israel bill with cuts to IRS funding, get that through the House this week. That is uncertain whether it could get past the House, and it's dead on arrival, according to top Senate Democrats in the Senate. So just a lot of questions at this time of international crises about whether Congress can respond or whether, once again, things can get stalled and lead to uncertainty about helping the United States partners overseas. Guys.
Manu, thank you for the reporting. Get back to you soon.
And joining us now, Republican Congresswoman from Indiana, Victoria Spartz. She's the first U.S. Congress member born in Ukraine. Congresswoman, we appreciate your time. To start, you have been an unequivocal supporter of Israel and their need particularly to defend themselves in the wake of October 7th. Do you believe this proposal, which Senate Democrats say is dead on arrival, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell disagrees with, is the right course of action?
Well, thank you for having me, and I'm very disappointed to hear that that we're not wanting to deal with our fiscal issue. We do need urgently to help Ukraine. We need urgently to help Israel. But I think it's important for us also to deal with our spending, and I think this package is very reasonable what our new speaker is proposing. We need to understand that we already give $12 billion per year appropriation to IRS, 80 billion additional appropriations. So what it does, it just give less increase to IRS, which is really, not doing a good job anyway and harassing a lot of Americans. So I think we need to move Israel aid quickly. This is very urgent. People of Israel are fighting very serious battle that they need to win and in destabilizing the whole region and can really get us involved in very, very significant crisis. So I think that needs to move first quicker, and then we have to deal with Ukraine.
But if this funding for Israel, Congressman, is contingent on those cuts to the IRS, you run into the issue that the nonpartisan Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget did the math, and they said, well, you cut the money to the IRS, that dilutes their ability to, get revenue, and their projection is that it adds $30 billion to the deficit.
Well, this is how, gimmicks overcome it, but in reality, it doesn't, what we're just talking, we're still significantly increasing, funding for IRS. We have regular appropriation, $12 billion per year. So this is 80 billion that we're given initially. So it's going to be over 60 billion, still given more to IRS. This is plenty of money. We need to see first what they're using for. So I think that is a very reasonable approach considering the amount of debt we have right now and where we are fiscally.
Look, and you've been so clear where you stand on the debt, and you've been calling for a debt commission. I understand that, but those are the projections from the nonpartisan committee. Is it worth stopping funding to Israel over that?
No, we're not. We need just to have a conversation. No one is stopping that. This is an actually very reasonable proposal. And we're going to say, and we need to understand, this funding that was given, funding for IRS, was given over 10 years. So we need to see first what they're spending on. So we have to have not these blank checks to these agencies. So we're still giving more money. Inflation Reduction Act give 80 billion on top of it. So it's still, even if it reduces 14 billion, it's still go to over 60 billion extra. This is a lot of money given to the agency that we haven't seen working efficiently. And are they going to really doing their job or really harassing small businesses and not really helping them? So I think it's something we have questions to ask. So I think it's reasonable.
I think the money is in part to enhance efficiency to some degree. I do want to ask you, the lack of Ukraine funding, Speaker Johnson has been clear he wanted to separate the two issues, but he's not mentioned what the pathway for Ukraine funding is. He's not put anything on the table. Pay-fors or no pay-fors, what is the path right now?
I think we need to make sure that President Biden is accountable to Congress and American people. Even if we look at all of these packages, there are a lot of associated causes with Ukraine. Congress never really got an answer. What are these causes? Where the money spent? We spent over $100 billion already. And we wanted to know which countries we're sending money to, what is these causes, and why we're not sending enough in weapons to Ukraine. Every package, only 10 to 20% goes to weapons. The rest of it goes to a lot of causes. So we need to understand, because President Biden has grandiose statements about Ukraine winning, but he's sending aid not to lose. And that is not a strategy that we need to have dealing with very aggressive country like Russia.
Well, the Secretaries of State and Defense, I'm sure will be asked about that today in the Senate. Representative Victoria Sparks, we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Lawyers for Donald Trump looking to block a witness from testifying for the prosecution at his civil fraud trial ongoing here in New York. We'll tell you why.
And the Actors Union and Hollywood Studios appear to be making progress in the negotiations. We're going to update you on where things stand. That's next.
The Medicare Advantage and Prescription Drug Plan annual enrollment period is now open.
Every year I have to listen to all these commercials.
We're sorry, Karen, and we know it's annoying, but we want to make sure everyone on Medicare knows it's time to check and see if they can enroll in a plan that will save money or include additional benefits.
I just want these commercials to stop.
Honestly, Karen, we do too. But this is the only time of year when everyone on Medicare can call and see if there are plans with additional benefits available in their area.
I already have a Medicare Advantage plan, so these commercials aren't even for me.
Well, Karen, plans may change every year, and the 2024 Medicare Advantage plans are now available. The phone lines are open. Just call 800-331-5378 now. The Medicare annual enrollment period is the only time of year when all Medicare recipients can call and enroll in a new Medicare Advantage plan. This is also the time to call if you want to change plans. This enrollment period is only open for a limited number of weeks.
Do I have to call now for 2024?
2024 plans are available now during the annual enrollment period. Our licensed insurance agents are standing by to take your call. Call now and get a free benefits review with no obligation to enroll. Just call 800-331-5378 now.
So, I can call and not sign up for a plan?
That's right. We just want to make sure everyone on Medicare gets information about plans with the coverage they want in 2024. You can call to check and see what plans with additional benefits may be available in your area.
I need to get that number one more time.
The number again is 800-331-5378.
Is the call free too?
Yes, the call and benefits review are free with zero obligation to enroll. Call now. Just call 800-331-5378 now. That's 800-331-5378.
Confused by the Medicare ABCs? If you have Original Medicare, then you have Parts A and B. Have you considered Part C? Medicare Part C is sometimes known as a Medicare Advantage plan, and it's one of the best ways to help protect yourself from out-of-pocket Medicare costs. If you only have Medicare Parts A and B, there are 3 things you should do. 1, call the number on your screen. 2, give the licensed insurance agent your zip code. 3, see what Part C plans with benefits are available to you. 1, 2, 3. It's that easy. Medicare Part C plans are available with benefits you may not be receiving with your current plan. Call now to enroll during the Medicare annual enrollment period. There may be a plan available in your area with benefits, but you won't know unless you 1, call the number on your screen now. 2, give the licensed insurance agent your zip code. 3, see what Part C plans with benefits are available to you. Medicare Part C plans are available now. Plans may include benefits you are not currently receiving. Call today. You don't get a new Medicare Advantage plan automatically. Call now to enroll during the Medicare annual enrollment period. If you already have a plan, call to find out if any changes have been made to your coverage for 2024. If you only have Medicare Parts A and B, there are 3 things you should do. 1. Call the number on your screen. 2. Give the licensed insurance agent your zip code. 3. See what Part C plans with benefits are available to you. 1, 2, 3. It's that easy. Medicare Part C plans are available with benefits you may not be receiving with your current plan. The Medicare Benefit Helpline is accepting calls right now to see what 2024 plans with benefits are available to you. Everyone on Medicare can call today for a free Medicare benefits review. The call is free. There's no obligation.
Call 800-375-1200. That's 800-375-1200. 800-375-1200. Call now.
Actors in Hollywood studios seem to be getting closer to a deal. SAG-AFTRA, the union that represents more than 150,000 Hollywood actors in the major studios, have made significant progress in their negotiating sessions in the last couple of days. That is a word from people familiar with the talks. A deal cannot come soon enough. The studios need to imminently resume production if there is any hope that the winter half of the television season can be salvaged, and thousands of actors are in increasingly dire need of their paychecks. If production is not resumed soon, the shortened television seasons could be scrapped altogether. So there's hope. We'll see.
Well, lawyers for former President Trump looking to block a witness from testifying for the prosecution at his civil fraud trial here in New York. They're claiming the Attorney General plans to use an expert witness to substitute for evidence it did not present to the judge. It's unfolding just before Trump's adult children will actually be called to the stand. CNN's Brent Gingras is live to help us unpack this. I feel like there's going to be a TV show written about the ups and downs of this trial.
Yeah.
Why don't they want this person to testify?
Yeah, it's going to be a crazy 2 weeks. So this is a witness that's an expert witness, according to the New York State Attorney General, essentially going to testify to the fact that insurers and lenders wouldn't have given the deals it gave Trump Org had they known that these properties were evaluated and basically inflated. So essentially saying that there's wrongdoing here and the money would not have been given to the Trump Org. Now, they're also supposed to testify to the fact of how much money should be paid back from Trump Org to the state, what they call disgorgement. And remember, at the beginning of this trial, the New York Attorney General asking for $250 million. So the defense, as you said, Will, saying here, listen, you can't just fill in the gaps with this witness, expert witness, to testimony we should have been hearing for the last 4 months. This is all speculative. So we're going to have to see how the judge rules on this once court begins at 10 o'clock this morning. But we'll see.
Former President Trump's children have to take the stand.
Yeah.
When?
Coming up tomorrow. Don Jr. is first on the list. Now, listen, the schedule could change a little bit based on the testimony, how long it takes for both sides. But Eric Trump also expected in the next couple days this week. Then we might hear from Ivanka next week. She might appeal that, but also the former president, going to take the stand as well. And listen, they're integral to this, right? I mean, we have heard their names either through emails or from witness testimony. Their names spoken in court. Eric and Don Jr. are defendants in this trial. So their testimony is going to be integral to this. So we'll see. Former president not going to be in the courtroom, though, when his children take the stand. So that's an interesting part of this. But like you said, it's going to be a little bit crazy the next couple of weeks.
I maintain the most New York City trial.
I know. Most New York trial. Brent, thanks for covering all of it. It is Halloween. Happy Halloween. The holiday brings tricks and treats to families around the world. It also brings in a serious amount of money. Our Harry Enton here. Of course, you're wearing a Bills
I was squinting because I could see Harry out of the corner of my eye, and I was completely terrified.
Here with the numbers behind the candy as we listen to Monster Mash.
Hi, Harry. Thanks.
I want the candy corn. Thank
The new CNN Prime Time is where the truth shines, taking you to the heart of the story
We start with breaking news for you this evening. We are just about 3 miles from the Gaza border.
and breaking through the noise.
Interesting conversation about where we are in America right now.
The day's biggest stories.
What we have been seeing in Israel is unprecedented.
The night's most essential reporting.
It's not about what I believe, it's about whether there is evidence.
This is the new CNN Prime Time. Weeknights starting at 7 on CNN.
Life after student debt is within reach. Refi at SoFi.com.
you could save thousands and get to your goals faster. SoFi, get your money right.
Meet Martha. Martha is 75 years old and has been on Medicare for 10 years now. But she's a bit cranky because she heard the 2024 Medicare Advantage plans are now available during the Medicare annual enrollment period. And she wants details.
I'm already on Medicare. Why should I call and check up on my Medicare plan?
Hi, Martha. Plans and benefits can change each and every year. That's why it's important to call to get your free 2024 Medicare benefits checkup.
I already have my Medicare card. I am not calling.
Martha, right now is the Medicare annual enrollment period. 2024 Medicare Advantage plans are now available, so everyone on Medicare can call to see if a Medicare Advantage plan may be better for you. You can even call to see if there are any changes to your current Medicare plan in the coming year.
They probably won't answer the phone.
Well, Martha, if you call 800-882-0987, a licensed insurance agent will speak with you and look up your plan options and see if there is a plan that will better fit your healthcare needs.
Why don't I get these automatically?
Martha, 2024 plans are now available, but you won't get a 2024 Medicare Advantage plan automatically.
I think I called before, so I'm not calling.
Martha, right now is the Medicare annual enrollment period. 2024 plans are now available, so now's the time to call. So everyone on Medicare should call now during the Medicare annual enrollment period and get your free Medicare benefits checkup today. Just call the toll-free number on your screen. It's free.
Free?
Yes, Martha. The call and no obligation Medicare benefits checkup is free. They can look up your plan options and let you know if you're eligible to enroll in a 2024 Medicare Advantage plan available in your zip code. Call now and we will see what plans may be best for you.
It's time for me to call and get my free, no obligation Medicare benefits review.
That's right, Martha. I should have just given you the toll-free number. It's on everyone's TV screen now. Call 800-882-0987. 800-882-0987.
There have been 3 murders. Where we find the truth?
You have a fabulous energy.
We continue.
I speak for the dead.
Guaranteed drama with that one.
I saw demons. Then we must be careful.
I will not be next.
Haunting in Venice.
1 in 3 children is now at risk of going to school on an empty stomach.
When I'm hungry, my stomach starts to hurt a little bit. It's hard to think and concentrate. I don't have enough energy.
But there's hope. By supporting Toonies for Tummies, 100% of your donation gives hungry children in your community the chance to start their day with a much-needed nutritious meal.
When I eat breakfast, I have lots of energy. When it's gym, I can run really fast.
Donate online today.
I'm Jim Shudo in northern Israel, and this is CNN.
It's Halloween. If you have not bought your costume yet or candy, you still have time, and you all should have seen Phil's costume when he came to work this morning. Tell them.
Scooby-Doo.
It was epic.
I like fun. And Halloween.
Clearly, we have numbers on the most popular candy and costumes, and Harry is the Bills. Good morning.
I'm
the Bills.
I am the Bills. I'm Jim Kelly right here. Great Bills quarterback from the late 80s and through the mid-90s. Look, let's take a look. Halloween is big business. How much is expected to be spent this year? $12.2 billion. That's a record high. 73% of Americans celebrate it in one way or another. Perhaps you're going to go on trick-or-treat. Perhaps you're going to appear on television and dress as your childhood idol. One of the two, perhaps different for different folks. Now, of course, we're talking about costumes. So what are some of the top Googled and TikTok costumes this year? Barbie, perhaps not too much of a surprise given the success of the film earlier this year. How about, if you're a couple, how about Swift and Kelsey? Spider-Man, always a classic. A Witch or Wednesday Addams? You know, I always did enjoy that show growing up. Perhaps you two did as well. What are you? You're Scooby-Doo. Where are you? What are you doing?
This, but not what you expect. I'm Weird Barbie.
You're
with
weird.
all the makeup and the wig and the whole thing.
I have not seen the
Come
movie.
on!
So you know what's sad? Sarah Silver went to see that film with my mother and they didn't invite me. This is actually a true story, by the way.
Can I ask you, though, I want to talk about the important things.
Yes.
Candy.
Candy.
What does America love on the candy front?
You know, number one, Reese's peanut butter cups.
I like that.
36%.
Yeah.
Snickers 18%. M&M's 11%. The big divisive one here, candy corn at 6%. I have to ask you,
You just gave me candy corn going to commercial.
Correct.
I just tried to give it to Grace,
And now it's
our
on
great anchor producer, who didn't want it. Because
Well, I think
apparently
it is
it's
divisive.
not the best.
I like candy.
Halloween candy?
I think it's a perfectly fine candy, but you'll also notice that a lot of these on here are chocolate. They're chocolate. So here's a chocolate. I got this downstairs. I will note I didn't actually go out and buy the candy. Someone was giving them downstairs out in our lobby, and I was like, you know what? This would be great for television.
Okay.
So that's what you call utilizing everything that's going on.
Can I just ask real quick? You said you had a fun one.
Yeah.
What's the fun? Is this the fun one?
I think this is a fun one.
Okay.
Americans who believe in ghosts. In 1979, it was just 11%. Look where we are today. 39% of Americans believe in ghosts. Do you guys believe?
Okay, I have to wrap you up here. We have 15 seconds left, and I want to leave you all with this. This is what I walked into in the office this morning. Scooby Mattingly. Not Spill Mattingly. Scooby Mattingly.
I like fun.
You like fun.
And backpacks.
That is
Apparently
amazing.
I'm 15 years old. Everybody have a great Halloween. Harry, thank you as always, my friend. CNN News Central starts right now.
Israel Defense Forces push deeper into Gaza. The new information we are learning about this somewhat mysterious offensive.
And new details also about the operation to rescue an Israeli soldier held hostage by Hamas. The targeted special operation overnight in northern Gaza, and the moment the soldier was reunited with her family.
A big moment on Capitol Hill. Any minute now, an official plea for new funds to support Israel and Ukraine. I'm John Berman with Kate Baldwin. Sarah is on assignment. This is CNN News Central.
Israel's military push further into Gaza. The IDF says troops are confronting Hamas terrorist cells on the streets and now facing what they describe as anti-tank missiles and machine gun fire as the fight continues. According to the IDF, the number of hostages being held by Hamas in Gaza is also now going up again, now believed to be 240 hostages. The IDF is also detailing what it calls the active rescue of one of those hostages, an IDF soldier. Israeli officials say that Hamas was holding her inside a remote building. That's according to Axios. The IDF telling CNN that the soldier has shared information about her captivity with Israeli intelligence officers, which can be used for the future, they say. What that means for the efforts today to get more hostages out, not entirely clear. But we do know air attacks are not letting up. This barrage in northern Gaza struck just hours ago as Israeli leaders are firmly saying a ceasefire is not under consideration right now, though they acknowledge the humanitarian crisis in Gaza is deepening.
Yeah, and as Kate says, the Israeli Defense Forces now say there are 240 hostages. This would be their 25th day in captivity in Gaza. And even as operations intensify in the Gaza Strip, the IDF is also conducting operations elsewhere, including the West Bank, where just north of Ramallah, they say they destroyed the home of a Hamas leader. You can see the after effects right there. That compound simply leveled from the air by Israel. And again, that happened in the West Bank as opposed to Gaza. Also in Gaza, we are getting a sense of the scale of operations. The IDF says it killed a Hamas leader who conducted the attacks over the border in Israel on October 7th in a kibbutz in another town right here. They say this Hamas leader was responsible for both attacks there. Now, one area we're not seeing a great deal of activity is northern Israel on the border with Lebanon. Yes, we have seen an exchange of fire back and forth over the last 3 weeks between Hezbollah and Israel, but up until now, Hezbollah has not launched any kind of full-scale operation into Israel. Let's get to northern Israel. That's where we find our Jim Shudo to get a sense of what's happening there. Jim.
John, I'm in northern Israel, just a few miles from the Lebanon border. This is an Israeli tank unit, the Merkava tank. Back here, they're basically a staging area. They're doing exercises as well. And the soldiers, men and women who are manning these tanks right now, they're reservists. They're among those more than 300,000 reservists that have been called up since the attacks on October 7th. There actually has been a fair amount of exchange of fire between the IDF and Hezbollah and other fighters inside Lebanon, and also, frankly, those fighters from Lebanon and also from the Syrian side targeting civilian areas. We found ourselves in the midst of it. It's a combination of artillery fire, rocket fire, mortar fire. They're even sending IEDs over on parachutes, in effect, makeshift IEDs that drift over and drop down to the ground, and it is causing genuine fear here in the north, to the extent that many of these northern communities are either under mandatory evacuation or, in effect, voluntary evacuation. As we've been driving through these towns along the border here, many of them are empty, and these are not small villages, John and Kate. These are major communities, places like Kiryat Shimona in the north, and where we are now, which is right along the coastline. So you have a combination of fear among civilians here moving south, but also deployments like this one we're seeing here in case there is a more aggressive attack by Hezbollah fighters in numbers. One thing I will note too, John, as well, is there's great concern about Iranian proxies in this region unleashing their more advanced missile systems, and the IDF saying today that for the first time, the Arrow missile defense, as it's known, this is a high-altitude missile defense, even higher altitude than the Iron Dome we're so familiar with, that the Arrow missile defense system was engaged for the first time of this conflict because of missiles coming from Yemen, Iranian-backed forces in Yemen, the Houthi rebels there, and that's a genuine fear, right? Because Hezbollah as well has many thousands of these long-distance, precision-guided weapons that if they decided to unleash them in numbers onto Israeli territory, that it would overwhelm those many layered missile defenses, the Iron Dome and the Arrow much higher up. So you've got concerns at the ground level, you've got concerns from incoming artillery fire, and then you have concerns about higher altitude, greater precision weapons coming in as well. That's the level of the alert here right now, John.
Yeah, a great deal of concern, as Jim was saying, right on the Israel-Lebanese border. I didn't mean to say it was totally quiet there, because it hasn't been. It's been constant activity. Hezbollah estimated to have some 150,000 rockets, and as Jim was saying, including high-tech rockets that can hit almost anywhere in Israel, including the capital, Tel Aviv, in the airport there. As of now, Hezbollah has been somewhat restrained. Obviously, the concern there is they would cease to be. Jim Sciutto in northern Israel, our thanks to Jim. Kate?
Now, minutes from now, we're going to hear from the U.S. Secretary of State and the Defense Secretary, both on Capitol Hill to testify before senators on the Biden administration's ask for $106 billion in aid for both Israel and Ukraine. But this comes, as we have been discussing, of this growing opposition to linking these two funding requests, the growing opposition coming really amongst Republicans in the House. Let's get into Natasha Bertrand right now for us. She's in Washington. Natasha, what are we expecting to hear from both Tony Blinken and Lloyd Austin as they go before appropriators now?
Well, Kate, we haven't gotten their prepared remarks just yet, but expect it to be very similar to the pitch that President Biden made in his speech to the American people earlier this month, in which he advocated for the U.S. Congress to pass this supplemental bill that would provide additional funding to Ukraine and Israel. And he emphasized the importance, the national security interest for the U.S. to provide that money now. He said Hamas and Putin represent different threats, but they share this in common. They both want to completely annihilate a neighboring democracy, completely annihilate it. So that is really the argument we are likely to hear from Blinken and Austin, is that this money is necessary in order to help these two very key U.S. allies confront the threats that they are facing right now. Now, a major problem, as you mentioned, is that the House does not want to link Israel funding with Ukraine funding, and the House GOP, they put forward a bill just last night that provides $14 billion in additional funding for Israel, but punts on the issue of aid for Ukraine. And in addition to that, It also rescinds the over $14 billion in additional IRS funding that had been included in the Inflation Reduction Act that was passed by the Biden administration. So in response to this, Karine Jean-Pierre, who's the White House press secretary, she put out a statement last night saying that this bill was essentially a non-starter. She said, quote, politicizing our national security interests is a non-starter. Demanding offsets for meeting core national security needs of the United States, like supporting Israel and defending Ukraine from atrocities and Russian imperialism, would be a break with the normal bipartisan process and could have devastating implications for our safety and alliances in the years ahead. Now, Senate Democrats have also said that this bill is a non-starter, so expect this to be a subject at the hearing today. Austin and Blinken are going to make the case to link these two, saying that they're essentially really key for U.S. national security as the Ukrainians try to fend off Putin and, of course, as Israel tries to fend off Hamas. However, it remains to be seen how this actually gets passed with such opposition in the House right now to linking those two, Kate.
Yeah, a really uncertain future on what they describe as very immediate need. Thank you so much, Natasha. John.
All right, let's dig deeper now into the Israeli incursion into Gaza. So far, it has happened really only in the north here. With us now is CNN military analyst, a former NATO Supreme Ally Commander, General Wesley Clark. General, we can zoom in to northern Gaza here, and we have a sense that the Israeli forces are moving in three directions. From here, the north, the northern corner, the other northern corner, and from the south here, somewhat toward Gaza City. What is it that you see happening here?
Well, they're moving toward the center of gravity as they see it of Hamas, and they're moving very deliberately. They're moving with full security. They're drawing the resistance into them. They're forcing Hamas to maneuver. They're picking up then intelligence from that maneuver and using it for targeting. And we know from previous incursions, John, that there is a big tunnel network under northern Gaza, so they're moving in where they can get at the tunnels, but they also have to be on the rooftops.
So Axios is estimating that there are some 20,000 Israeli troops now inside Gaza. We have no way of knowing for sure here, but if that is within the range of what Israel has committed so far on the ground there, is that a lot, a little, limited? How would you describe it?
I'd say it's quite limited so far. There were about 10,000, 12,000 U.S. troops in Fallujah, which was about 1/10 the size of the Gaza Strip. So northern Gaza, maybe 1/5, 5 times larger than Fallujah. They don't have enough troops in there yet, but they will be putting more troops in. They're going to have to clear the area. They're going to have to go into the buildings, clear the rooms, be on the rooftops, check the basements, go into the tunnels. So this is the beginning of a lot of hard, dangerous work for the IDF.
And again, Gaza City is right here, and we have the sense that there are tanks and infantry every direction of it. Are you talking about something that would be like a siege surrounding Gaza City for some period of time, or will they go into the downtown area in force, do you expect?
I think it depends on the reaction and what they get out of Hamas. I think if Hamas holds up in a definite zone, then they will close on, squeeze that, and penetrate that zone. If Hamas comes out at them and they can conduct sufficient attrition against Hamas by its attacking their fixed positions, then you're not going to see as much movement into the center of the city. But eventually, yes, they're going to occupy the whole city.
I want to talk about what's happening at the Israel-Lebanon border. That's where our Jim Sciutto, we just saw him. And Jim's reporting on the constant activity that's been going on back and forth with Hezbollah targeting some of the Israeli villages right there along the border. Israel, the IDF, conducting some operations in southern Lebanon targeting Hezbollah. But up until now, Hezbollah has not launched anywhere near the kind of operation they did in 2006, firing thousands, if not tens of thousands of rockets into Israel, using their well-trained militia groups to invade or try to cross the border into Israel. Why not, do you think?
I think the Iranian bosses there, the mullahs, are carefully watching the situation. They recognize the United States has 2 aircraft carriers there. I think Israel is better prepared to defend itself now than it was in 2006 on the northern border. And I think the mullahs recognize that should Hezbollah really commit full bore against northern Israel, Hezbollah will be destroyed or substantially destroyed, and they'll lose a major face in the region, the Iranians will, and they'll also lose their ability to influence Lebanese politics and also Syrian politics. So Hezbollah is, of course, working in three different directions. This is one of them. This is posturing by Hezbollah thus far as the Iranians continue their calculations. Now, if Israel puts 150,000 troops into Gaza, if Israel's stuck in there taking heavy casualties, the Iranian mullahs they'll recalibrate. And at that point, they might well decide to launch Hezbollah, but not yet.
Right, General Wesley Clark. We should note that Hezbollah's leader Hassan Nasrallah has said he will speak on Friday, several days from now. Obviously, the world watching very closely what he'll say. General Clark, thank you very much. Kate?
Coming up for us, Donald Trump's kids are set to testify in his civil fraud trial in New York. What that could mean for them, for their dad, and for the family's business empire. And we're also learning about new warnings that were coming from the main shooters, the murderer's ex-wife and son, what they told police back in May about what we're learning about how he acquired up to 15 guns. And Ron DeSantis speaking out this morning after Nikki Haley is now touting being in second place behind Trump in key early primary states. What this race looks like now after the first major Republican contender drops out. Mike Pence's former chief of staff is our guest.
Stay 2 nights and get 5,000 bonus points. Book direct at bestwestern.com.
The Stackable Savings Sale is going on now at Cabinets to Go. Get 25% off cabinets. Plus, save an additional 15% when you add flooring, countertops, and installation. That's up to 40% off. Don't wait. Visit us today for your free 3D design and enjoy your new dream kitchen this holiday season. Hurry! This Stackable Savings Sale ends November 7th. Cabinets to Go. Wow for less.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. With so many mesothelioma lawyers on television, how do you choose the right firm for you and your family? Our goal is to get you as much as you deserve. $30 billion was set aside for mesothelioma victims like you. If you've been diagnosed with mesothelioma, we'll come to you within 24 hours so our team can get to work right away. Call us now. There's only one Morgan & Morgan.
Call 800-502-1900.
Hi, it's Christina again. I'm here to tell you about an all-new special offer from my friends at Jacuzzi Bath Remodel that you don't want to miss. You already know, Jacuzzi has been making water feel great for more than 65 years. And now, they're bringing you this special TV offer. We're waiving all installation costs and postponing all payments for 1 year. Jacuzzi Bath Remodel has a design you'll love at a price you can afford. And, best of all, they can install it in as little as 1 day with no stress and no mess. Are you ready to see your new shower? Here it is.
It's fabulous! Taking a shower had gone from being a joy to being a burden. I was afraid I would fall. I called, and just 1 day, I had a shower I could feel safe in.
No matter your situation, Jacuzzi Bath Remodel has a solution for you. From a safer, easy entry shower with features like grab bars and a custom seat to keep you feeling comfortable and independent at home, to a stunning family bath, or how about a luxurious upgrade with a timeless design that will look great for years to come. Plus, they're built to last with a lifetime warranty from an iconic brand you know you can trust.
It was done the same day. We did not have to wait.
It's absolutely perfect. It's exactly what I was dreaming of. If you haven't already experienced what Jacuzzi Bath Remodel can do for you, your family, and your home, don't wait any longer. Now is the best time to call. It's never been easier. Take advantage of this special TV offer today.
Go to jacuzzibathremodel.com or call 800-321-0299. That's 800-321-0299. Call now.
I'm in everybody's home, and my favorite homes are Wayfair homes. The Wayfair homes just have that razzle-dazzle. They redid the guest room. All at prices you can't believe. But you should. And blitz and fast shipping. North Pole in 2 days. So this year, go to Wayfair, for goodness sake. The gifts. You had one job, Nick.
Wayfair, you've got just what I need.
Donald Trump's kids are taking the stand starting this week in the $250 million civil fraud trial against Trump himself, a lawsuit that is threatening Donald Trump and the entire family's business empire. Backwards to forwards, Ivanka Trump is expected to testify next week after the judge in the case denied her motion to quash her subpoena. She had argued that she shouldn't be forced to take the stand after she was removed as a co-defendant in the case by a lower court judge. The judge also indicated he is giving Ivanka Trump time to appeal.
Yeah, before Ivanka Trump testifies, though, well before, as soon as tomorrow, in fact, Ivanka Trump's brothers, Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump, they will testify this week, again, as soon as tomorrow. Let's bring our legal analyst, former Ambassador Norm Eisen, to join us now. Norm, what does the Attorney General's team want to get out of Donald Trump's children?
John, he wants to get out of Donald Trump's children additional admissions that they engaged in the falsification of business records, issuing false financial statements, and insurance fraud. Now, they're not going to say, yes, I did it. But what he's going to do, what the lawyers for the AG are going to do is confront them with the inexplicable discrepancies in the valuation of specific properties ranging from Trump's apartment to the Seven Springs estate to 40 Wall Street to show that there was, in a nutshell, fraud.
Now, can they avoid doing damage to their dad?
Well, they're in a very tough spot because the discrepancies between these numbers, sometimes variations on these properties of hundreds of millions of dollars in the internal records of the Trump organization, put them in a corner. On the one hand, if they tell the truth, it appears they'll be admitting to the wrongdoing. On the other hand, if they're not candid, they're exposed to potential perjury. If they take the fifth, then that will count against them in the case. And all of this is happening in front of a judge who already had a partial summary judgment finding on the persistent fraudulent behavior. That's the first count of the complaint. So it's an impossibly difficult situation for the kids and ultimately for Trump himself.
Again, you can see right there on the calendar, it spells out in visual detail. We are going to hear from Donald Trump's children as soon as tomorrow, from Trump himself, the beginning of next week. Now, in a jury trial, you can understand the emotions that might be at play here, as a jury would see the children of the defendant testifying. There's no jury here. This is a judge. So how does that change the situation?
Well, there's been controversy about whether a jury might have even been available or not. Trump's lawyers didn't ask for one. That's the latest in a series of moves that have been questioned by his lawyers over the years. They say no jury was available, so they didn't mess up. The real audience here is not just Judge Engoron, who clearly has profound doubts about the candor of the Trump family. He's made that clear already. Whatever happens is going to be reviewed on appeal, and in particular, John, the penalties, which are in effect already up on appeal and for the summary judgment, and in effect a corporate death penalty. So what's going to happen is building the record for appellate review. I think the bottom line is when you look at these papers, it certainly appears, as the judge found on partial summary judgment, 2 sets of books. You just can't do that. So it's going to be a very tough case up on appeal. They're going to try to make it a little less bad.
A little less bad. Not a goal and not a way to live life. It's good to see you, Norm. Thank you so much.
It all begins tomorrow. All right. A troubling trend we are seeing here in the United States. A rise in anti-Semitic incidents. What's behind this and what can be done?
The new CNN Prime Time is where the truth shines. The day's biggest stories. The night's most essential reporting. This is the new CNN Prime Time. Weeknights starting at 7 on CNN.
Hey, Dad, would you rather time travel to the past or the future?
That's easy. I'll dial the time back to 20 minutes so I can eat this ham, turkey, and beef roast all over again.
But you could just go back to the holiday buffet right now.
But then we get the time travel.
Let's go way back. I want to ride a pterodactyl.
What? Hey, you tripping right now. I'm gonna sit at the wrong table again. Where's my good family at?
Meet Gold Bond Daily Healing, a powerhouse lotion that moisturizes, heals, and smooths dry skin with 7 moisturizers and 3 vitamins. And new Gold Bond Healing Sensitive, clinically shown to heal and moisturize dry, sensitive skin. Gold Bond.
Hi, my name is Damian Clark. And if you have both Medicare and Medicaid, I have some really encouraging news that you'll definitely want to hear. Depending on the plans available in your area, you may be eligible to get extra benefits with the Humana Medicare Advantage Dual Eligible Special Needs Plan. All these plans include a Healthy Options Allowance, a monthly allowance to help pay for eligible groceries, utilities, rent, and over-the-counter items, like vitamins, pain relievers, first aid supplies, and more. The Healthy Options Allowance is loaded onto a prepaid card each month, and whatever you don't spend carries over from each month. Other benefits on these plans include free rides to and from your medical appointments. You pay nothing for covered prescriptions all year long. All plans have dental coverage, which includes 2 free cleanings a year, fillings, and a yearly exam. They also have vision coverage, including vision exams and a yearly allowance towards eyewear, such as lenses or contacts, and hearing coverage, which includes routine hearing tests and coverage for hearing aids. You'll also have a $0 copay for the shingles and other routine vaccines at in-network retail pharmacies. Plus, your doctor, hospital, and pharmacy may already be part of our large Humana networks. So call the number on your screen now to speak with a licensed Humana sales agent. Wouldn't you love benefits like a monthly allowance? To help pay for eligible groceries, utilities, rent, and over-the-counter items. So if you have Medicare and Medicaid, call the number on your screen now and speak with a licensed Humana sales agent. If you're eligible, they can even help enroll you over the phone in a Humana Medicare Advantage Dual Eligible Special Needs Plan. So call now. Humana, a more human way to healthcare.
My most important kitchen tool? My brain. So I choose new Nariva Ultra. Unlike some others, it supports 7 brain health indicators, including mental alertness, from 1 serving to help keep me sharp. Try new Nariva Ultra. Think bigger.
8 million people in Canada live with chronic pain. It's a condition that can last for years and have serious impacts on both physical and mental health. That's why Pain Canada is uniting a national community to find support and to take action towards a common goal. A dramatically improved system of care and support for people with pain. Find practical resources and connect with our community at paincanada.ca.
If you've had a change in health or you're over 65 and paying for $100,000 or more in a life insurance policy you don't need, get paid for it instead.
Take the money that you get, go and live it up. You bet. Call 877-SELL-EASY. 877-SELL-EASY. 877-SELL-EASY.
Shlomo in Ashkelon, Israel. This is CNN.
This morning, trouble ahead once again on Capitol Hill as lawmakers are now trying to figure out how to send help to Israel and also Ukraine, if they're going to at all. On the Senate side, there seems to be a rare display of bipartisanship as leaders of both parties agree that Israel funding should be part of a larger package that includes aid to Israel and also a boost to funding for the southern border of the United States. In the House of Representatives, though, the new Speaker, Mike Johnson, he's readying for a fight, it appears, pushing a standalone bill that does not include any money for Ukraine and also calls for scraping some $14 billion in IRS funding that was part of the big bipartisan infrastructure deal. CNN's Manu Raju is on Capitol Hill following this. Manu, we can see the contours of the battle. Do you see a path forward yet?
It's really unclear. In fact, there's real concerns that all of this could get stalled, could get bogged down, could potentially collapse amid divisions within the GOP and also uncertainty about whether the votes exist for any of the packages that are now being considered. Now, the split really is between the Senate Republican leader, Mitch McConnell, and the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, about strategy and about the price tag, about how to move ahead. McConnell wants to include Ukraine aid, along with Israel aid as well, as the White House has been pushing for $105 billion as part of that emergency package, including with issues like the southern border, issues with dealing with the South Pacific and the like. Mike Johnson, the new speaker, wants a separate bill, $14.3 billion just to deal with Israel. But included in that are spending cuts to IRS enforcement meant to offset the cost of the price tag. That has prompted a furious Democratic revolt. And the chairman of the Senate Appropriations Committee, they're about to hear testimony in a matter of minutes from top cabinet officials. She says that House Republican plan is dead on arrival. And in talking to the number 2 Senate Republican, John Thune, he made clear that it is an open question about how any of this will get resolved. Would you be okay separating the two out?
Well, I mean, again, it's going to be what the traffic will bear over there, what they have the votes to pass. We'll see what it looks like when it comes over here. If they send something over separately, and it has bipartisan support coming out of the House, then it's probably going to be hard not to take that up here.
And that is the real question, is exactly what can get out of the Senate that can pass the House. And if the House plan does pass this week, Democrats are saying it has no path in the Senate. So what ultimately happens here as Israel awaits aid from the United States, as Ukraine awaits aid from the United States? Will all of it collapse amid infighting on Capitol Hill? That is a huge question. But the administration, in just a matter of moments here, Secretary Blinken as well as Secretary Austin, planning to make their case to tie all of this together, saying it's central to the American security. But will that change the dynamic on Capitol Hill? That is another question altogether. Okay.
Absolutely. It'll be important, though, to hear from both the Secretary of State and the Defense Secretary on this very issue. Great to see you, Manu. We'll have updates coming from Capitol Hill on that. John? All right, with us now is Congressman Jared Moskowitz, a Democrat from Florida, who is on the House Oversight and Foreign Affairs Committee. Congressman, thank you so much for being with us. So this idea of tying aid to Israel to cuts in funding for the IRS, your Florida congressional colleague, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, said this is playing political games with the Israel emergency funding. You've said it's akin to having a political mailer, yet you also say you would vote for this. Why?
Well, first of all, they're setting a political trap. It's completely outrageous. It's not serious policy. And don't listen to me. Go listen to the National Republican Congressional Committee. They put out a tweet saying Democrats are going to have to choose between Israel and the IRS. So they're admitting that this is a campaign ploy so they can send mailers out for the Democrats that decide not to defund the IRS. This is what we're doing with our national security. This is what Republicans are going to do while there are American hostages. They're going to politicize funding for Israel in their greatest time of need in 50 years. And so that's why we're calling it out. That being said, listen, I'm not going to fall for the trap. I am going to support Israel's funding because it's super critical in the world we live in today, that we give Israel the support that they need.
Why isn't that falling for the trap, though?
It's not falling for the trap because they want us to vote no. They want us to vote no. That's the trap. They want us to choose the domestic spending over the foreign spending, the domestic cuts over the forward spending. That's what they want. They want us to fall right into it, and that's why I'm saying I'm not going to do that. By the way, this violates their single subject spending rule. They said they weren't going to mix several subjects in a bill. This also is going to add to the deficit, which is something they're not supposed to be doing. So they're violating every rule that they've set for themselves, all in the nature of politics, not about bringing Americans home, not about helping our ally in the Middle East, not about doing any humanitarian aid, by the way, for the folks that are in the Gaza Strip. There's none of that. That's what they're doing, but I'm not going to fall into that trap that they're trying to set for Democrats.
Congressman, your synagogue in Parkland, Florida, we might add, over the weekend there was an anti-Semitic incident outside, and if I'm getting this right, it was what appeared to be kids on bikes riding by yelling things about Jews. What's that feel like for you to have that happen outside your synagogue?
Well, I mean, John, we've seen this now, unfortunately, all over the country, in universities and in the streets, on social media. I mean, it's the cool and hip thing. I have no doubt that these kids saw this on TikTok or Instagram or somewhere and thought, oh, this would be cool. Let's put on ski masks and go to our local temple and yell, kill the Jews. We have seen in this country, also on college campuses and in the streets, this goes from complaints about Israel to Jews. You know, we're as the Jewish community is constantly told, you can be anti-Israel but not anti-Semitic, and I would surmise that you could. But what we're seeing in the street is not. What we're seeing in the street is calls to gas the Jews, kill the Jews, cleanse the Jews, from the river to the sea, right? Kill everyone in between. It is concerning. This is what my grandmother, who was a Holocaust survivor, as a child, told me stories. You go to the museums, you think to yourself, there's no way that this could happen again. How can people so blindly hate?
Earlier in the segment of this video, they were talking about Trump. Those children are going to be testifying. Doom for Trump, doom for Trump. The children are darned if they do or not. Yeah, it's going to be doom, 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 doom for Trump. Doom for Trump, doom for Trump, doom for Trump, doom for Trump. High prices ranging in the millions, so much money. Falsely appraised for his properties. The children have to tell the truth. If they don't, well, they risk perjury. Either way, it's gonna be doom for Trump, doom for Trump, any old which way. It's gonna be doom for Trump in that trial coming up, coming up, coming up. Israel Hamas war leads to rise in anti-Semitism in the USA. Well, now that's not a good symptom of bias and prejudice on the rise in the USA due to the Israel Hamas war. Not a good rise, not a good trend. Not a good rise, not happening. Don't want it to happen in my backyard. Don't want it to happen in your backyard. Nevertheless, anti-Semitism in the USA is on the rise. Let's listen and hear more.
Canceled with foreign leaders. We see mobs in Russia looking for Jews on the plane from Tel Aviv. All of this goes back to people believing that hospital was bombed. And so spreading dangerous misinformation is something people in Congress shouldn't do. When Republicans do that, Democrats call that out, okay? And we censure them for when they do that, or say they should be censored. And so, that's why I said it's something that I think it should be considered.
Congressman Jared Moskowitz, we do appreciate your time. Please come back and see us again.
Thanks, John.
All right, the battle for number 2. Things getting very interesting in the Republican race for president. New sharp elbows between Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley. And could Hollywood actors be back on their way to work soon? There is new reporting on progress in the strike talks.
Being a journalist is the best job in the world. Asking challenging questions of the folks who run the world. Is Ukraine going to win this war?
Yes, of course.
You ready?
The Lead with Jay Tapper, CNN Today 4.
The day you get your Clear Choice dental implants makes every day a let's dig in day, a chow down day, a take a big bite day, a perfectly delicious day, a love my new teeth day. Because your Clear Choice day is the day everything is back on the menu. A Clear Choice day changes every day. Schedule a free consultation.
Now, ADT professionally installs Google Nest products.
Cool. You're all set.
So your home is safe and smart. You can check in on your home.
Arm the system, we should go.
Manage your system from virtually anywhere. And get intelligent alerts like when a package has arrived. When the most trusted name in home security adds the intelligence of Google, you have a home with no worries. Brought to you by ADT.
Diabetes can serve up a lot of questions, like what is your glucose and can you have more carbs? Before you decide, with the Freestyle Libre 2 system, know your glucose level and where it's headed, no finger sticks needed. Manage your diabetes with more confidence and lower your A1C. The #1 doctor-prescribed CGM, Freestyle Libre 2. Try it for free at freestylelibre.us.
Hi, it's Christina again. I'm here to tell you about an all-new special offer from my friends at Jacuzzi Bath Remodel that you don't want to miss. You already know, Jacuzzi has been making water feel great for more than 65 years. And now, they're bringing you this special TV offer. We're waiving all installation costs and postponing all payments for 1 year. Jacuzzi Bath Remodel has a design you'll love at a price you can afford. And, best of all, they can install it in as little as 1 day with no stress and no mess. Are you ready to see your new shower? Here it is.
It's fabulous! Taking a shower had gone from being a joy to being a burden. I was afraid I would fall. I called and just 1 day, I had a shower I could feel safe in.
No matter your situation, Jacuzzi Bath Remodel has a solution for you. From a safer, easy entry shower with features like grab bars and a custom seat to keep you feeling comfortable and independent at home, to a stunning family bath, or how about a luxurious upgrade with a timeless design that will look great for years to come. Plus, they're built to last with a lifetime warranty from an iconic brand you know you can trust.
It was done the same day. We did not have to wait.
It's absolutely perfect. It's exactly what I was dreaming of.
If you haven't already experienced what Jacuzzi Bath Remodel can do for you, your family, and your home, don't wait any longer. Now is the best time to call. It's never been easier. Take advantage of this special TV offer today.
Go to jacuzzibathremodel.com or call 800-321-0299. That's 800-321-0299. Call now.
At the Salvation Army, a meal isn't just a meal. It's fuel for imagination, determination, and dreams. It's energy to be role models, change makers, and to just be kids. With your gift, a full meal means a full heart, a full night's sleep, and a future full of possibilities.
This morning, Ron DeSantis is responding to some of the news out of Iowa. The new polling data is showing he remains in second place behind Donald Trump, a distant second place, but he is also now tied with Nikki Haley among likely Republican caucus goers. DeSantis today says he still feels confident about his campaign and what it's seeing in Iowa.
Donald Trump is spending $1 million attacking me in Iowa. Haley Super PAC is spending big money to attack me in Iowa. You don't do that, unless you view me as the threat. So I think it's at how the campaigns behave. And if Donald Trump had it sewed up, he would not be spending that kind of money there. If we weren't doing well, we would not be the focal point of the attack.
Nikki Haley, for her part, all too happy to tout her recent rise in the polls while campaigning in South Carolina. Listen to this.
If you saw the polls today in Iowa, I am now in second place in Iowa, second place. We are now second place in New Hampshire. We are now second place in South Carolina. I got one more fella I got to catch up to, and I am determined to do it.
That fellow, though, in a distant first, being the frontrunner Donald Trump. This new lineup, if you will, in Iowa comes just after the first major Republican candidate dropped out of the race. Former Vice President Mike Pence making the surprise announcement this weekend. And joining me now is Mark Short, Senior Advisor to Mike Pence, also the former Chief of Staff to Vice President Pence. It's good to see you, Mark. What was the final straw? Why do you think he did not gain traction?
Well, Kate, I think that the campaign afforded him an opportunity to give an admonition to the direction that our party is headed. I think that in 2016, when he joined the ticket, there was a promise to govern as conservatives, and I think that he and Donald Trump did, whether or not it's border policy, historic tax relief, we did rebuilding the military, or reforming the courts. But I think today, the front runner of our party is running a campaign based on grievances. And there's no real promise to conservatives to how he'd govern. In fact, if you look at his campaign messaging, proposing perhaps the biggest tax increase on American history with a 10% tax on all products coming to the United States, abandonment of our international commitments, refusal to address the fiscal crisis that we're in. There's nothing that the campaign is offering to conservatives. Instead, it's basically, you fight, help me fight my grievances. And I think the campaign afforded the vice president that chance to give caution to our party about the direction that it's headed. But I think that the reality is that Donald Trump remains the front runner for our party. And, other candidates will have to make decisions about timing for them. But I think some of the conventional wisdom that is out there would suggest it says, hey, we just need to narrow down to one-on-one. And I don't think that applies here. I think the reality is that as candidates drop out, it will build more of an inevitability if Donald Trump is the nominee.
Okay,
and so I do think it's a little bit different dynamic.
But when it comes to, what you said that the campaign afforded Mike Pence, people were not buying it. You can see it in the polls that it didn't cut through. It didn't people were not giving him another look. But I wonder then if this, Pence leading the race, coupled with Trump's dominance, and also even Mike Johnson's rise to becoming House Speaker, is that confirmation that 2020 election denialism is a prerequisite or at least a big factor in people being able to win leadership positions in the Republican Party?
I don't know, Kate. I think that there's no doubt there's a sense of allegiance in our party to Donald Trump, and I think some of it could be election denialism. I think a lot of it also is believing that there was a lot of accomplishments those 4 years, and so even if we don't agree with him about January 6th, we want to stand with him moving forward. So I don't know if it's as simple as that. And look, I'm well familiar with Speaker Johnson's amicus brief, but I don't put him perhaps in the same crowd. I think that Mike Johnson is a committed conservative who has been a man of conviction throughout his public career, and so I'm not necessarily attaching some of the same election denialism there.
Who do you think is now the strongest candidate against Trump?
Kate, I think that right now that Donald Trump is on a pathway with each ensuing indictment that continues to rally more people behind him. I think, as you mentioned, there is a fight for second place, but that's a distant fight from where Donald Trump is.
Are you seeing inevitability then?
I don't want to say inevitability because I think there's still an enormous amount of legal hurdles that face Donald Trump, but I'm not so sure that there's a compelling case for anyone else in the field to overtake him where our party is right now.
One of the questions, sorry, can I ask you this real quick?
Yeah.
Pence joined most of the other Republicans running for president in raising his hand on that debate stage to say that he would support whoever the eventual nominee is, whoever it is. Obviously, the question and the suggestion there is if it is Donald Trump. Now that he no longer is bound by any RNC rules, that was part of it to get on the debate stage, do you see Mike Pence really voting for Trump if he gets the nomination?
I think that Mike's a man of his word, and I think that he's been a lifelong Republican. I think he's been committed to our party, and as you said, it was a prerequisite for being a participant in the debates.
But how do you make sense of that when he's on the right side of history? And he stood up for his ideals. How is that standing up for an ideal?
And I think he's always going to make that case to American people. But at the same time, Kate, I think that if you're a conservative like he is, you look at the direction of our country under Joe Biden, there's no way you can support Joe Biden. And so I think that there's certainly a conflict there for sure, and it's hard to support somebody who abandons the rule of law. But I'll let Mike answer the question as to who he'll actually vote for. But it's hard for me to see going out and campaigning against the Republican nominee.
It's great to have you, Mark. It's great to have your perspective throughout the rest of this primary.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, buddy. John.
All right, very shortly, actors and major studio executives set to meet at the negotiating table. Is a deal to end the strike increasingly imminent?
The Whole Story with Anderson Cooper is appointment viewing on Sunday nights. One whole story, one whole hour. The world's best journalists dig deeper into the stories they can't ignore. The Whole Story with Anderson Cooper, Sunday at 8 on CNN.
Consumer Cellular, this is Sam. How may I help you? This is Sam. How may I help you? Oh, this is a butt dial. Well, somebody's butt. Just thought I'd let you know that with Consumer Cellular, you can get the same exact coverage as the leading carriers, but for up to half the price.
I can get behind that.
I know, right? I just talked to a butt. Congrats.
The Medicare Advantage and Prescription Drug Plan annual enrollment period is now open.
Every year I have to listen to all these commercials.
We're sorry, Karen, and we know it's annoying, but we want to make sure everyone on Medicare knows it's time to check and see if they can enroll in a plan that will save money or include additional benefits.
I just want these commercials to stop.
Honestly, Karen, we do too. But this is the only time of year when everyone on Medicare can call and see if there are plans with additional benefits available in their area.
I already have a Medicare Advantage plan, so these commercials aren't even for me.
Well, Karen, plans may change every year, and the 2024 Medicare Advantage plans are now available. The phone lines are open. Just call 800-331-5378 now. The Medicare annual enrollment period is the only time of year when all Medicare recipients can call and enroll in a new Medicare Advantage plan. This is also the time to call if you want to change plans. This enrollment period is only open for a limited number of weeks.
Do I have to call now for 2024?
2024 plans are available now during the annual enrollment period. Our licensed insurance agents are standing by to take your call. Call now and get a free benefits review with no obligation to enroll. Just call 800-331-5378 now.
So, I can call and not sign up for a plan?
That's right. We just want to make sure everyone on Medicare gets information about plans with the coverage they want in 2024. You can call to check and see what plans with additional benefits may be available in your area.
I need to get that number one more time.
That number again is 800-331-5378.
Is the call free too?
Yes, the call and benefits review are free with zero obligation to enroll. Call now. Just call 800-331-5378 now. That's 800-331-5378.
Hey there, stop changing channels. I'm out here in the woods, and you gotta see this. It's the new Patriot Power Generator 2000X, a solar generator worth its weight in gold when your power goes out, with double the capacity and expandable, so you can run your fridge even longer. It's fume-free, safe to use inside, and never needs gas, ever. Plus, you'll get this solar panel free. Go to 4patriots.com and do it now. Get your solar generator with free shipping and free panel at 4patriots.com.
Homeowners, when your water or sewer line breaks, it's expensive and often not covered by basic homeowners insurance. You could pay thousands. Finding a good contractor can be tough. Want this guy doing the job? With a plan from HomeServe, call us. We'll send a contractor and there's no big bill. Easy. But don't wait. Get a plan from HomeServe before a line breaks. Go online now.
Plans from HomeServe start at just $7.99 a month.
Call 1-877-538-3882 or visit homeserve.com.
I'm Rahel Solomon in New York, and this is CNN.
All right, very shortly, SAG-AFTRA, the union representing 150,000 Hollywood actors, will be back at the negotiating table with studio executives. The union's top negotiator told Variety that he is, quote, cautiously optimistic about the talks, though they remain far apart on key issues. Actors have been on strike since July. That is more than 100 days now. CNN business and politics correspondent Vanessa Yurkevich is with us now. And Vanessa, there is a sense that they might be getting closer to progress here. What are you hearing?
Good news is they're back at the negotiating table today, and sources telling our Oliver Darcy that there has been significant movement in negotiations and that we could see a deal this week or next. But I just want to caution that we've heard about movement before, only to have the two sides walk away abruptly from the negotiating table. But we know from sources that all key items are being discussed, including artificial intelligence, which could be used to create background actors in shows or movies, or even just pay an actor for one day of work but use their likeness in perpetuity. That is something that the actors have said is an existential crisis to their livelihoods. We know that the Writers Guild, however, was able to come to a deal with the studios earlier this month and was able to put guardrails up around artificial intelligence. And involved in those final days of negotiations between the writers and the studios were all of the studio heads, including the CEO of our parent company, Warner Brothers Discovery. And we know from sources that those same studio heads are back at the negotiating table trying to push this deal through. And John, the clock has always been ticking on this, but the clock is really ticking now, because if they do not come to a deal soon, the studios are going to have to cancel the production of their winter shows. That will only prolong actors being out of work more. And additionally, all the other employees in other industries that are supported by Hollywood who have been impacted, they're going to be out of work even longer. So a little bit of hope this week that maybe there's a deal in our near future. That would be the best gift ahead of the holiday season, John.
All right, back at the table very shortly. Keep us posted throughout the day. Vanessa Yurkevich, thank you very much. Kate?
Any minute now, John, we're going to be hearing from the Secretary of State, Tony Blinken, and also the Defense Secretary, Lloyd Austin. They're set to speak. You see them there speak at a Senate hearing to make the case on Capitol Hill for more aid to Ukraine, more aid to Israel, and getting it to them as soon as possible. We're going to bring you some of their remarks when they begin. Also coming up, Israeli forces are reaching deeper into Gaza with its ground operation now. What that looks like today, actually, we're going to go back to Capitol Hill right now. Secretary of State Tony Blinken is beginning his remarks. Let's listen.
To testify before you today.
Recognize that people feel very passionately, but I ask that we have order in this hearing room and respect our speakers. We will move forward with the hearing and allow the people here and the American people to hear from their witnesses. Senator Blinken.
Thank you, Chair. 2.5 years ago, our adversaries assessed that the United States was becoming permanently divided at home, alienated from our allies and partners around the world. Working together, we've demonstrated that America's resilience, its strength, and leadership in the world remain unmatched. We've made historic investments in the source of America's strength at home: our democracy, our infrastructure, our economic and technological competitiveness. We've invested in the modernization of our military, and we've invested in our greatest strategic asset abroad, our network of allies and partners, which is growing larger, stronger, more united, and more capable than ever. We're standing up for our interests and values, not shrinking back. Not in the face of Russia's aggression against Ukraine. Not in the face of an intensifying strategic competition in the Indo-Pacific and around the world.
If the witness will suspend, and I ask that everyone again respect this hearing, we will suspend until the room is cleared.
standing up for our interests and values, not shrinking back, not in the face of Russia's aggression against Ukraine, not in the face of intensifying strategic competition in the Indo-Pacific and around the world, not in the face of terrorism and its state sponsors. And America does not stand alone. We built extraordinary coalitions with friends who carry their share of the burden, which I'm happy to come back to. Our adversaries and competitors alike recognize that our strategies are working, and they continue to do everything they can to disrupt us. We now stand at a moment where many are again making the bet that we're too divided or too distracted at home to stay the course. That's what's at stake with President Biden's national security supplemental funding request. The President's request would secure the urgent resources that we need to continue to lead. Secretary Austin and I believe it important for us to be here together today because in this mission, as in so much that we do to advance America's national security, our defense, our diplomacy, our development must work hand in hand.
Committee will suspend, and again, I appreciate that people feel passionately about these issues. I would ask that you respect our witnesses and our committee members and allow the American people to hear their testimony. We will pause until the room is cleared.
300 people in Gaza, 3,500 kids dead. Come on, I'm an Army colonel, I'm a former diplomat, I resigned on that war in Iraq that you talked about. That was a terrible thing, and what we're doing right now in supporting Israel's genocide of Gaza is a terrible thing too.
Thank you, Secretary Blinken. If you can continue, please.
Thank you, Chair. The President's funding request has 4 key elements. First, it provides for our enduring support to Israel and Ukraine, 2 democracies under brutal assault by actors determined to wipe their nations off the map. It will ensure that Israel can continue to defend its people by building on the diplomatic, security, and intelligence support that the United States has surged since Hamas's appalling slaughter. I know that several...
Committee will suspend, and I again ask that those in the audience respect the people in the room and allow us to continue the hearing. The hearing will suspend until the disruption is removed. Thank you, Secretary Blinken. If you can continue, please.
So I was saying, I know that several committee members have traveled to Israel over the last 3 weeks. They've heard directly from Israeli officials what they need to defend their people and prevent another attack like this one. And that's exactly what the supplemental provides, with $3.7 billion for security needs, including to help Israel bolster its air and missile defense systems. And the supplemental also requests additional authority to draw down DoD stocks and enhances the security of our embassy. As President Biden has made clear from the outset, while Israel has the right, indeed it has the obligation, to defend itself, the way it does so matters. In our discussions with the Israeli government, the President and I have both stressed the need for Israel to operate by the rule of law.
Committee will suspend. Secretary Blinken, you may continue. Thank you.
Chair. So I was saying the President and I both stressed in our conversations with the Israeli government the need for Israel to operate by the law of war and in accordance with international humanitarian law, and to take all possible measures to avoid civilian casualties. For Ukraine, President Biden is requesting $16.3 billion to supply Ukraine's defense, without which Russia will move quickly to try to seize and exploit any possible opening, and to ensure that Ukraine can sustain the economic base and recovery that its war effort depends on. This funding will not only rebuild Ukraine's economy and offset the damage wrought by Russia, but it will also help to reimagine it, investing in new industries, infrastructure, and supply chains connected to Europe and to the world. Secure and resilient clean energy, anti-corruption bodies, civil society, media. To be strong enough to deter and defend against aggressors beyond its borders, Ukraine needs a resilient economy and a vibrant democracy within its borders. Since Russia launched its war, the robust funding supported by Congress has enabled the people of Ukraine in their courageous fight to defend their nation. It's helped make sure that Russia's invasion and strategic...
committee will suspend. Thank you. And before I turn back over to you, Secretary Blinken, I just really want to thank the Capitol Police for their very calm and professional manner. We all appreciate it. Secretary Blinken, can you please continue? Thank you.
So to continue, since Russia launched this war, the robust funding provided by Congress has enabled the people of Ukraine in their courageous fight to defend their nation. It's helped make sure that Russia's invasion is a strategic debacle, making it weaker in nearly every way. And it's rallied the world in defense of Ukraine and of the principles at the heart of the United Nations Charter: sovereignty, territorial independence, integrity, and independence. Our partners are making significant contributions to share the burden of assistance. Turning our backs on their efforts would have lasting implications for our own security and our own standing in the world. The conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East have clear links, as both the Chair and Vice Chair have noted. Since we cut off Russia's traditional means of supplying its military, it's turned more and more to Iran for assistance. In return, Moscow has supplied Iran with increasingly advanced military technology, which poses a threat to Israel's security. Allowing Russia to prevail, with Iran's support, will simply embolden both Moscow and Iran. Second, this funding will enable us to tackle grave humanitarian needs created by autocrats and terrorists, as well as by conflict and natural disasters in Ukraine, in Gaza, in Sudan, in Armenia, and other places around the world. Food, water, medicine, other essential humanitarian assistance for civilians must be able to flow into Gaza. Civilians must be able to stay out of harm's way, a task that's made even more difficult as Hamas uses civilians as human shields, and humanitarian pauses must be considered. Helping prevent a worsening humanitarian catastrophe aligns with our nation's most deeply held principles, including our belief that every civilian life is equally valuable, equally worthy of protection. Without swift and sustained humanitarian relief, the conflict is much more likely to spread. Suffering will grow, and Hamas and its sponsors will benefit by fashioning themselves as the saviors of the very desperation that they created. Humanitarian assistance is also vital to Israel's security. Providing immediate aid and protection for Palestinian civilians in this conflict is a necessary foundation for finding partners in Gaza who have a different vision for the future than Hamas and who are willing to help make it real. Third, this funding is critical to outcompeting our strategic rivals. This request will bolster deterrence. It will support our allies and partners in the Indo-Pacific to address threats from an increasingly assertive PRC and to meet emerging challenges. It will uphold our commitment to our allies, including under our trilateral security partnership with Australia and the United Kingdom, AUKUS. And
you've been listening to U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken testifying before the Senate Appropriations Committee. He is there to call for new funding, new money to support Israel and Ukraine as they are both engaged in wars at this time. Now, this was a tumultuous hearing. You heard many demonstrators there calling for a ceasefire in Gaza, something that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says that at this point would be a victory for Hamas to stop their operations now in Gaza. And we should note the IDF, the Israel Defense Forces, says that they have changed their count of the number of hostages in Gaza. It is now 240 hostages being held in Gaza, and they have been in captivity now for 25 days. To give you a sense of the very latest on this operation, this is the newest video we have of the Israeli ground effort in northern Gaza. You can see explosions there and also Israeli troops on the ground inside Gaza. Operation is not taking place just in Gaza, though. We got this video in this morning from just north of Ramallah inside the Israeli-occupied West Bank. This is, Israel says, them targeting a Hamas leader who lives in that area. You can see his home simply destroyed there. Now, in terms of what else is happening right now, there has continued to be tension on the Israel-Lebanon border. Right along here, Hezbollah, the Shia militia groups that has strong support from Iran, operates in southern Lebanon, and there have been exchanges of fire and hostilities for weeks now between Hezbollah and Israel here. Let's get right to that border to get a sense of where things stand right now. Our Jim Shudo on the Israeli side. Jim, what do you see?
John, it's interesting, just in the last hour, in fact, the IDF confirmed another Israeli strike inside Lebanon going after what they called Hezbollah infrastructure. We've seen that every day, at least once a day, usually multiple times a day. As they receive fire from the Lebanese side, Hezbollah and other fighters, they target the origin of that fire either with airstrikes or artillery. And in fact, as I'm speaking to you, I can hear Israeli artillery fire off to my left. So you have this going on really back and forth throughout the day, wherever we go along the border here in the north. Not to the degree where an entire new front has been opened up, but I think you could reliably say that Iran's proxies in both Lebanon and Syria are showing their power and their presence and showing that they can strike Israeli territory. And that's why you're seeing forces like the ones I'm with here. This is an Israeli armored unit, those Merkava tanks behind me, stationed here for, well, they don't know what the next step is, either defensive operations. They certainly haven't been given those orders. They certainly wouldn't share them with us. That is the level of alert here right now. And just one other point I thought I would highlight, John, because you were in Ukraine too as well about a year and a half ago. Well, when I speak to Israeli troops, it reminds me of what I heard from Ukrainian forces there, which is that their country was invaded. It was invaded by attackers who target civilians. We certainly saw that in Ukraine, and God knows we saw that on October 7th from Hamas. And they believe that they're defending themselves. And like in Ukraine, these are reservists called up, members of the citizenry who had jobs, or they were in school, they were in college, they were overseas. They've been called up to defend their country, and that's how they see this war. Right now. So when you hear those words from up on the Hill connecting those two conflicts, Russia's invasion of Ukraine and Hamas's invasion of Israel, the soldiers here and the citizens, by the way, they see it very similarly.
Hey, Jim, if I have you here, could I ask you just one question here? Because we see you near the northern Israel-Lebanon border with tanks behind you, right? And those are tanks that are in the north of the country, which means they're not deployed down there in the south around Gaza. Do the troops that you talk to, the military leaders, give you a sense that the Israeli forces are being stretched, perhaps more thinly than they can handle?
Well, they need to be here, right? And just as Israel has surged forces south for this ongoing ground operation in Gaza, they surged forces north as well, both reservists, armored units like this, to prevent, in effect, defend against another front opening up here. And as a measure of the seriousness with which they're taking that threat, it's not just forces like these that we see here. By the way, there's a reason this shot is tight, because they do not want to reveal, for security reasons, exactly where they are on the map. But it's not just the forces moving up, it is civilians moving south. And I have to say to you, John, when I go to these communities here that have essentially emptied out, some under mandatory evacuation orders, some just voluntarily, it's hard to see what change will be required for those families to move back and feel that it's safe to move back, because that artillery fire is constant, the rocket fire is constant, and the threat of a ground incursion is constant. It's just hard to see when the comfort level returns, right, in the north, much like we're seeing in the south.
Yeah, I've heard you asking those questions in those villages. You have a poignant question, when will you feel safe coming back, and really not getting an answer. Jim Shudo in northern Israel, not far from the Lebanese border. Great reporting, Jim. Thanks so much for being there. Kate? It's
great to have Jim there for that perspective. Coming up for us, the number of hostages being held by Hamas, the IDF says the number is going up again. Families praying for the return of their loved ones as the IDF is pushing deeper into Gaza. And also, so many more families are still learning more details about the horrible day that their loved ones were killed by Hamas terrorists. The aunt of one young Israeli-American man killed at the music festival is our guest. Also ahead for us, 3 of Donald Trump's children will be taking the stand in his civil fraud trial. 2 of them could be taking the stand as soon as tomorrow. So what could this mean for the former president and his family's business empire? We'll be right back.
The new CNN Prime Time is where the truth shines. The day's biggest stories. The night's most essential reporting. This is the new CNN Prime Time. Weeknights starting at 7 on CNN.
Why did we choose Safelight? We were loading our SUV when crack. Safelight came right to us, and we could see exactly when they'd arrive with a replacement we could trust. That service the way we want it.
Safelight Repair, Safelight Replace.
If you're on Medicare, remember, the annual enrollment period is here. The time to choose your coverage ends December 7th. So talk to United Healthcare about getting more of what matters with our broad range of plans, including an AARP Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare. It can combine your hospital and doctor coverage with prescription drug coverage and more, all in one simple plan. You'll have $0 annual physical exams and lab tests. Plus, get more for your Medicare dollar with $0 copays on most covered dental services, a $0 eye exam with an eyewear allowance, and $0 copays on hundreds of prescriptions. Call United Healthcare today and let us help find a plan for your needs. Ask about the all-in-one Member U card too, and how it opens doors to a simpler healthcare experience. Now's the time to get to know America's most chosen Medicare Advantage plans. Call or go online today.
This is spring semester at Fairfield Sassoon Unified. They switched to Google Tools for education because there's never been a reported ransomware attack on a Chromebook. Now they're focused on learning, knowing that their data is secure.
Confused by the Medicare ABCs? If you have Original Medicare, then you have Parts A and B. Have you considered Part C? Medicare Part C is sometimes known as a Medicare Advantage plan, and it's one of the best ways to help protect yourself from out-of-pocket Medicare costs. If you only have Medicare Parts A and B, there are 3 things you should do. 1, call the number on your screen. 2, give the licensed insurance agent your zip code. 3, see what Part C plans with benefits are available to you. 1, 2, 3. It's that easy. Medicare Part C plans are available with benefits you may not be receiving with your current plan. Call now to enroll during the Medicare annual enrollment period. There may be a plan available in your area with benefits, but you won't know unless you 1, call the number on your screen now. 2, give the licensed insurance agent your zip code. 3, see what Part C plans with benefits are available to you. Medicare Part C plans are available now. Plans may include benefits you are not currently receiving. Call today. You don't get a new Medicare Advantage plan automatically. Call now to enroll during the Medicare annual enrollment period. If you already have a plan, call to find out if any changes have been made to your coverage for 2024. If you only have Medicare Parts A and B, there are 3 things you should do. 1, call the number on your screen. 2, give the licensed insurance agent your zip code. 3, see what Part C plans with benefits are available to you. 1, 2, 3. It's that easy. Medicare Part C plans are available with benefits you may not be receiving with your current plan. The Medicare Benefit Helpline is accepting calls right now to see what 2024 plans with benefits are available to you. Everyone on Medicare can call today for a free Medicare benefits review. The call is free. There's no obligation.
Call 800-375-1200. That's 800-375-1200. 800-375-1200. Call now.
Hope you all like potatoes. These are fresh from my garden.
What? Is your garden in Idaho?
No, it's in my backyard.
Don't let this happen to you. Always look for the Grown in Idaho seal.
Closed captioning brought to you by Gilt. Visit Gilt.com today for up to 70% off designer brands.
Gilt has the designers that get your heart racing. At insider prices, new every day. Hurry, they'll be gone in a flash. Designer sales at up to 70% off. Shop Gilt.com today.
Now, the IDF says this morning that the number of hostages being held in Gaza by Hamas is now increasing once again. Now, 240 people being kidnapped from Israel by Hamas terrorists and being held in Gaza today. We're also, at the very same time, learning more about the innocent civilians killed in that horrific Hamas attack, including at the Nova Music Festival. Look at this young man, 23-year-old Israeli-American Adir Masika. His family says he died a hero, protecting the people that he loved that were with him. Adir was at the festival with his girlfriend and other close friends, and when they heard the rocket sirens, they ran. They drove to a nearby bomb shelter. Then Adir and one of his friends, in realizing that Hamas terrorists were attacking those who were sheltering, they told the others to hide and stay behind and went out unarmed to charge the gunmen. They were killed. Some of their friends survived, rescued hours later by Israeli forces. And joining me now is Adir's aunt, Morial Latan. Thank you so much for being here, Morial.
Thank you for having me.
You went over there as quickly as you could to be there for your family, for the funeral and for funeral of others, and have returned. From what you know of what Adir did for his friends and what you've heard from his friends who have survived, what sticks with you most?
First of all, thank you for having me. I think what sticks with me most is that his bravery and his love of those who he loved most, his friends, his family, his girlfriend, never left him, not for a moment while he was alive, and not in the moments that led to his death.
What's been taken from the world with Adir now gone? What do you hold on to?
What's been taken from the world is a beautiful human being who believed very much in peace and in love and in life and in nature. He was a lover of the ocean and of surfing and of sunsets. He designed a beautiful jewelry line that was in the name of that love for nature. He wanted to dedicate his life to causes like climate and sustainability. He was thinking about becoming an engineer. We lost one of the kindest, most loving human beings, not only in our immediate family, but in our community. And I think we also lost, for at least for now, some belief in the fact that good will prevail against evil.
I actually heard you say that you think Adir would want to make sure that the day after was planned for, the day after this war was planned for, that the children are taken care of, that the focus is not just on retaliation. Where is your heart and head in terms of so much pain, so much suffering? I mean, the Israeli government is talking about trying to work to put together a safe zone in Gaza. And it's hard. Where is your head and heart on this?
Look, I think that the grief right now is challenging because while we are, and many other
families are trying to grieve the loss of their loved ones, of their sons, of their brothers, of their daughters, of their mothers, of their babies that they can't even identify yet, they can't even bury yet. We are also grieving and having to defend for who we are, for being Jewish, for being part of those who believe in life and in freedom, for having to figure out how to collect pieces that are shattered while paying attention to the fact that our energy, our collective community will be needed to rebuild not just Israel, but I think many parts of humanity that are now broken. And so my head and my heart are very much divided but focused on both grieving and rebuilding, just like I mentioned, I think Adir would have wanted.
As you were sitting backstage, you also heard the Secretary of State in his testimony being interrupted by protesters, anti-Israel protesters, and you were saying there's just, and I heard you say there's just so much pain. I mean, when you see that, when you see the images coming out of Gaza, how do you process? How do you feel? How do you react to when you see those protests?
Look, I think we've been for many, many years now taught that every story has at least three sides, and that things are gray, and that not everything is black and white. And while I hear the pain, I also think we're in a black and white moment, and we are in a moment of positioning ourselves on right versus wrong. And I think that I'm hearing echoing of stories that have been told without facts being checked. I think we're hearing a lot of rallying around a cause without understanding the depth and the history and the facts. And we're looking for leadership to set things straight and to tell us what the truth is, but we also need people to want to find out what the truth is, and we need the media to be committed to covering what the truth is.
Because we also see the ugly, ugly, horrific head of anti-Semitism rearing itself up in the face of this in just a terrifying way. You live in the New York area, just at Cornell, and now the FBI investigating. They have more security to protect Jewish students and organizations.
It's unbelievable that this is happening right now. It is enraging that we have to be dealing with this kind of violence against Jews all around the world and here at home.
What would be Adir's message? I mean, and I know I'm asking the impossible, but
I wear a bracelet my husband made for me with the day he died and the geo coordinates of the place he died. He is with me. I try to hear him. I think that as much as Adir would want to be rebuilding, he would first want to be protecting those that he loves, including his brother, who is a soldier in the IDF, and other soldiers. And he would want to make sure that his friends and family were protected, both in Israel and around the world. And once we accomplish that, we will focus on rebuilding.
Thank you for coming in, Muriel.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for your strength. John.
So Donald Trump's children began testifying in the civil fraud case against him as soon as tomorrow. What their words mean for them, their father, and the case.
Our mission here at CNN is that the news comes first. That's the promise of the Situation Room. We work as hard as we can to get the facts.
The Situation Room with Wolf Blitzer, tonight at 6 on CNN.
Tourists. Tourists that turn into scientists. Tourists taking photos that are analyzed by AI. So researchers can help life underwater flourish.
Upon approaching the 18th green, Isa Tanaka silently proclaimed, "My brother may think he's a better golfer, a more witty conversationalist. He may think he's superior, but he's not. Because I switched to consumer cellular for the same coverage for up to half the cost. He may have mom's dimples, but I pay less for wireless. I'm the one who wins." freedom calls, we're here to answer.
Hi, I'm MedAdvantage Max. And if you're anything like me, well, I always want the Max. That's why I'm here to tell you that the Medicare annual enrollment period is now open. 2024 plans are now available. Plans may change every year, and this is the time of year when everyone on Medicare should check their plan and get information about other plans.
Just call 800-337-7942 now.
We all want the Max, but how do you know if you're getting the Max? Plans with additional benefits vary based on where you live. Everyone should call the number on your screen even if you called last year. A licensed insurance agent will check your zip code to see what plans with additional benefits are available. Here's the good news. It doesn't cost anything to call and see if you're getting the Max in your plan. That's right. The call and Medicare plan review are free with no obligation to enroll. I hope you get the Max.
Just call 800-337-7942 now. That's 800-337-7942.
Hi, I'm MedAdvantage Max. And if you're anything like me, well, I always want the Max. That's why I'm here to tell you that the Medicare annual enrollment period is now open. 2024 plans are now available. Plans may change every year, and this is the time of year when everyone on Medicare should check their plan and get information about other plans.
Just call 800-337-7942 now.
We all want the Max, but how do you know if you're getting the Max? Plans with additional benefits vary based on where you live. Everyone should call the number on your screen even if you called last year. A licensed insurance agent will check your zip code to see what plans with additional benefits are available. Here's the good news. It doesn't cost anything to call and see if you're getting the Max in your plan. That's right. The call and Medicare plan review are free with no obligation to enroll. I hope you get the Max.
Just call 800-337-7942 now. That's 800-337-7942.
This is American infrastructure, a prime target for cyber attacks. With the same AI-powered security that protects all of Google, also defends these services for everyone who lives here.
1 second, Grandma. This guy's gonna buy my car.
Okay, you need Carvana. Entering plate number, no accidents, right?
No.
Generating offer. Carvana can pick it up tomorrow.
That's an amazing offer.
Sell your car the easy way with Carvana.
I belong here.
You may think I don't fit in.
That I don't look the part.
But to me, curling is more than a sport.
It's my community.
Together, we can sweep away the barriers.
Create spaces where we all belong.
And experience the joy of curling. I belong here.
We belong here. We unite. And united we curl.
Coventry, even a term policy for cash or a combination of cash and coverage with no future premiums.
Someone needs to tell them that they're sitting on a gold mine and you have no idea. Hey guys, you're sitting on a gold mine. Come on.
Do you hear that?
I don't hear anything anymore.
Find out if you're sitting on a gold mine. Call Coventry Direct today at 800-392-7600 or visit CoventryDirect.com.
I'm Gustavo Valdez in Acapulco. This is CNN.
So a huge moment in a New York courtroom. Donald Trump's children tomorrow scheduled to begin testifying in the civil fraud case against him, where he's already been found liable for fraud. So Donald Trump Jr. kicks it off. He will be on the stand tomorrow, followed by Eric Trump and Ivanka Trump next week. CNN's Brent Gingras here with us now. So where does their testimony fit here?
I mean, it's going to be pivotal to this case, right? The entire 4 weeks of this civil trial, the Attorney General's team, they have been putting witnesses on the stand. Eric Trump, Donald Trump Jr., who are defendants in
Donald Trump's children are going to testify against him.
Their names have been mentioned by these witnesses or in emails.
Donald Trump's children are going to testify against him.
Together, whether or not they answer questions from Attorney General's lawyers, we'll see. But they certainly can tie together the pieces of who exactly was in charge.
Donald Trump's children are going to testify against him. Doomsday for Donald Trump. Donald Trump's children are going to testify against him. Doomsday for Donald Trump. Doom and gloom.
That's because she, obviously left Trump or when Trump went into office, and so their argument was that she had no part in the discussions that were had about
Doomsday for Donald Trump.
Defendant, however, the state basically
Doomsday for Donald Trump.
still benefits from Trump.org. She gets a paycheck. She could have some testimony that could be important to this case, and so they won that argument. So she is expected to testify next week after her father.
Talk to me about that. After her father, so Donald Trump himself.
Yeah.
As soon as Monday?
As soon as Monday. Of course, the schedule can shift just based on the testimony. You know, these two sons could be on the stand for quite a bit. But he's expected to take the stand, and he's expected to be the final witness for the state before we head to his defense. Now, listen, he's not going to be in the courtroom for his children, which I found very interesting. He's not, because he was there for Michael Cohen. He was there for the start of the trial, but he is not going to be in the courtroom. He has some campaign things going on, so apparently he will not be in the courtroom. Of course, that could always change, but as of now, he won't listen to his kid's testimony. But he is taking the stand himself. It's going to be a big moment, a big 2 weeks.
All right, a few weeks worth watching here to be sure. Bridget Grass, I'm sure you'll be down outside the court as soon as tomorrow. Thanks so much. Kate?
Coming up for us, growing anger and paranoia. The ex-wife and son of the mass shooter in Maine. They were so worried about his mental health and what he might do that they went to police months ago. What happened with those warning signs? We'll dig deeper on that coming up.
The Whole Story with Anderson Cooper is appointment viewing